Hey guys, I'm trying something a little bit new today. My phone actually has this cinematic option in it that I have never used before for anything other than like 5-second videos and whatnot that I never even posted. And it's designed specifically, obviously, for cinema, to entertain people. In other words, to post in places where other people can see it. So this video will be posted online. Anyways, this is my second day documenting, following the lead of another person on YouTube, which I mentioned in my first video yesterday on this idea. Day 2 of my journey to becoming a YouTube millionaire. I don't know if it'll happen. It's not necessarily what my goal is. I have other ways of making money. And really, when it comes down to it, as long as you're not stupid with your money and you just wait a while, you're going to do just fine. But one of the cornerstones of a successful businessman, or just a successful person in general, is deferral of gratification and consistency. Consistency, even at the lowest growth rate that you can think of on a platform like YouTube, if you're posting a video every day, you will still get a bare minimum of traction, at least something. And it's better than not posting anything at all, especially if you have things that you want to say and things that you want to be remembered. I'm not getting any younger, nor are any one of you. So I can use this as a time capsule for myself and for everyone else. In 10 years, let's see where I am. In 20 years, let's see where I am. In 100 years, when other people are watching these videos, because they will be on other platforms, not just YouTube, they'll see where I was, and they'll be able to compare themselves. That's kind of the idea behind the time capsule, right? It's not just like seeing how people lived back then, but also comparing yourself to it. We don't have any time capsules of the Middle Ages that I know of, but they had an average life expectancy of 30 years, right? And now the average life expectancy of a person is around 75 in the United States. I can just use that by itself as what's making my argument for me. In 200 years, we might have a life expectancy of 200 years, maybe more, depending on how far we take CRISPR and stem cell technology and reverse aging technology and cancer cures and all that stuff that we discover, 3D printing organs, all that. Yeah, we don't have that stuff yet. I live in an era in history where that stuff is right on the horizon. And for all of you watching us in 100 years, watching this in 100 years, we don't have that stuff yet, but we're trying. And the way this scientific method works, the way the medical industry works, right, is you're looking for anything that provides better efficacy than placebo. Whether it is just a 2% improvement over placebo or a 20% improvement over placebo, it doesn't matter necessarily. You want to get an improvement. That's the idea. And let me just use the idea of cancer cures as a perfect example of this. We don't have a panacea for all cancers just yet. There might be one that's buried. I think it's fenbendazole, but we don't know for sure. So what we currently have is this thing called chemotherapy. This is the year 2024, AD Gregorian. And chemotherapy has an efficacy of about 2%. That means it improves somebody's chances of survival by about 2% on average. Right? That's it. It's not much at all. But it's better than no treatment at all. And then we also have things like surgery for cancers and whatnot. You combine all these things together, you get a 2% improvement from chemotherapy, a 10% improvement from surgery, a 2% improvement from diet, etc., etc., etc. You can increase the likelihood that somebody will survive any type of cancer by, say, 25 to 30, maybe even 50%. but any improvement whatsoever. And doctors in our current era, they really are, the majority of them, overwhelming majority of them, are earnestly trying. They're trying their best. But we just don't have the answers just yet. It was only a couple hundred years ago that we didn't have antibiotics. We didn't even know that they existed. And it was somebody operating on a hunch, a very good one, trying to figure out a cure to, I believe it was mad cow disease or something to that effect. It's like cowpox. I don't know. Back in the mid-1700s, 1800s, somewhere around there, and thought to themselves, this creature will survive if it gets a certain illness, and that illness is very similar to this other illness that will kill the creature. All right? Why not I inoculate them with this and see if it protects them from this other disease? And it just so happened that it did. Now, I'm getting my penicillin and vaccines mixed up, but you get the point. It was only a couple hundred years ago that we didn't have vaccines, that we didn't have antibiotics. Things have drastically changed over the course of these last couple hundred years. And those are huge leaps. We're doing everything we can. We're trying as hard as we can, earnestly, to figure out how to make life better for everybody. Doctors are earnestly trying, the majority of them. It's those few bad apples that screw it up for everybody else. Like if fenbendazole is, for instance, a cure to cancer, which I, again, think it is, and there were a few bad apples in the industry that were trying to hide it because they wanted money instead of, standard of care, do no harm. Well, that puts a damper on the whole thing. It's very difficult. So we're looking for any improvement over placebo whatsoever. 2% improvement is better than nothing. But there's going to be a point very soon where we're not going to be looking at 2% improvements. We're going to be looking at 99% improvements. You just keep on adding that up over time. Like I said, a 2% improvement from chemotherapy, a 10% improvement from surgery, a 25% improvement from diet. You add everything up until eventually you figure out la creme de la creme of treatments, which has a 99.9% efficacy. We're getting there. We're getting there. I mean, stem cells are very promising. CRISPR, very promising. All this stuff. Reverse aging technology, very promising. 3D printing organs, extremely promising. Yeah. So this is where we are right now. Me as a human being in this current era, my life expectancy is about 75 years, on average. If I do everything that I possibly can to keep myself in shape, to take care of myself, coffee, on average, the studies show, increases longevity if you drink between 2 and 4 cups per day by about 10 years. If you fast on a routine basis, that increases longevity by about 15 years. All right? If you get plenty of sleep, etc., etc. So everything that I'm doing, the exercise that I'm doing, all that stuff, adding it all up, I know this isn't going to happen because there's a diminishing return with all the stuff that we got, that we understand currently. With adding everything on top of one another, I could squeeze out 120 years. I could, if it weren't diminishing returns. But it's diminishing returns. Nevertheless, if I keep this stuff up, I might make it to 95, maybe 100. We all die. We all pass away. There's no such thing as death, but the body does expire. But the longer you can stay on the planet in your conscious form and not have to restart generation to generation, the greater the time horizon of your civilization is. You don't forget as easily. The collective wisdom of your civilization increases. It's one of the very key reasons we need to increase longevity very badly. And even beyond that, grace is enough. Having gratitude and grace, and not looking resentfully and angrily at those who are successful, but instead looking at them as people who are building shit. And those people not breaching trust, those are enough. Even if we didn't increase longevity, those things by themselves, people are going to have brain babies from one generation to another, and those brain babies will persist. And perfect fidelity video that can be transferred generation to generation, like this right here, allows those brain babies to persist with almost perfect fidelity. So yeah, we need to increase our longevity and increase our gratitude. Anyway, let's see if I can get to millionaire status with YouTube. Day 2 of becoming a YouTube millionaire. We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's all I got for today, guys. Y'all have a good day. Love y'all. Peace. Love's the answer.